start our video today, I just would like to mention all the good content that we already have in our channel and encourage you to check all that out. And I would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so you don't miss any future videos.
Welcome everyone to another video on the Studio 5000. Today we are going to address and take a bit of a deep dive on a couple attributes that we mentioned briefly on a previous video I have made regarding the tags attributes, and those are the usage and connections. So let's start. Starting firmware version 24 of Studio 5000, we have this, if I'm not mistaken, Rockwell introduced this usage and connection attributes. And the idea here is, so for example, as we can see here, we've got like two programs, program 1 and program 2. Now in previous version, if you declare a tag in here, that's called a program scope, and you can only use it within this program. You will not be able to use it outside of the program without well, one way that we used to have to do such a thing is you'll have to basically in the logic create some logic and map in the logic that local tag to like a global tag that you would have created in here, and that's how you can expose some certain data from here and use it in other programs. So you have to go by the controller tag as the bridge between this and that. Well, now with the introduction of the usage and connection here, now we can use these two attributes, and we will be able to have data shared and exposed to other programs to use it, or basically to have it available in that program directly without even having any logic whatsoever. So the idea here is, so for example, let's say we have here program 1, for example this one here, and then we're going to have program 2. And in program 1, if I have some tags, for example, that I want program 2 to have access to, then I can expose these tags to the outside world. So I can have maybe 3 outputs. So call it output 1, output 2, output 3. And the moment I declare these as outputs, I can use these 3 tags, and now they're going to become called parameters. So now they're parameters because they're exposed now for other program to use. So now this output 1, output 2, output 3, I can use them directly in my program 2 if I want to directly. So I can use them in the logic. Maybe I have some logic in here. I can use these directly into here, into this program. Because I declare them as output, and in fact not only as output, even if I declare some tags as input as well. So let's say this is input 1, 2 and 3. I can now use any one of these tags wherever I want. So they become, when you declare these tags and now they become parameters of this program, you can use them wherever you want in your entire application. Now, let's say you want to have some data or some tags values available in this program automatically without creating this logic where you're going to use this tag and map them to certain logic and so forth. So if you want that, what you'll have to do is you'll have to create in here in a program 2 another parameter. So what that means is, let me just get rid of this. Okay, so let's say I want this output parameter to show up in here as a parameter in here automatically. So if you want to do that, that's where I can, in this program 2, declare, for example, one tag as an input. So, and then create a connection between this output that is in program 1 and this input in program 2. And I can basically send this here. Now this part here is what we call connection. So now when you create this connection between this output in program 1 and this input in program 2, the value of this output here will appear in program 2 in this parameter automatically because of this connection you created. So that's another way of having the value or the data available for you in program 2 without having it in the logic, creating it through the logic, where you will take this tag and then map it to, let's say, another tag that is in this program to be used, for example. So what this do basically, it's now these programs are considered as kind of objects and containers to some sort of basically data and logic. And then of this data we can expose whatever we want as parameters to the outside world through this usage attribute, which is this guy here. And then on top of that we can create connections between programs to expose and have certain parameters available automatically in other programs. And it doesn't have to be just 2. We can expose this to as many as you want. In fact, when you have this declared as an output, this is an out, we can broadcast this so it's kind of a one-to-many connections. So let's say this is program 1, and we can have here program 2, program 3, program 4, program 5. However, when you have the parameter as a input, okay, in let's say program 1, now it's going to take only one connection that you can do, and that connection, the other side, let's say program 2, has to be an output. In other words, you can't do something like this. So let's say if you have P2, this is another out, I can't connect this to that same input in this scenario. But however, if you still want to do this, let's say you have a bunch of outputs that you want to broadcast to the same input, what you will have to do is you have to declare this not as an input but as public parameter. So that's another type of parameter that you can declare. It's called public. So if you have a bunch of outputs, and let's say when this turn on or whatever, it's gonna broadcast to that same public input. But the only thing to be aware of in this scenario here, let's say if these were just bools. So if this is goes to 1 and now this one is, let's say, 0, this here is going to be basically going between 1 and 0. So you'll have to be aware of that. Another type of parameters type is in and out. In, out. So those are the basically the different types of the usage you can declare a parameter. So you'll have inputs, outputs. Those are kind of more straightforward. Public, in, out. Plus obviously local. If you want to keep it basically in that program only, then you keep it as local. So those are your options. So this is just kind of a brief introduction to the usage and connection in kind of graphical way to try to understand the concept before. So when we're setting up things, it hopefully makes sense. All right, so let's take a look here in the settings and see how all that works. So if I'm going to go here, so the first example, we're just going to do an output and input. So I'm going to do here, I'm going to say this is tag 1. Okay. And as we saw or said earlier, these are your options: input, outputs, in and out, and public. So I'm going to declare this one as an output. Okay. And I'm going to just make it a bool, just keep it simple. Now notice as soon as I declare it as an output, it's not grayed out anymore. If I go back in here and say local, so this become grayed out, not available. But if I go and declare this as an output, now this is so this is not grayed out anymore, and I can use connections if I want to. Now, just as we said earlier, just by making this as an output parameter, now I can use this tag wherever I want in any program I want. So if I go to this program 2 and I do like this, you will see that now I have program 1 dot tag 1. It's available. I can use it. And I can link it now to maybe a tag called tag 10. So I'm just going to call it tag 10. So right now it says undefined. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add it here as tag 10. So it's local. And I'm just gonna change this to a bool. And now we go here, we'll say, okay, so this is good. So now the value of this bit is going to appear in this tag in here locally. You know, let's say if this is called something else, you know, like tag 10 right now here, and then maybe you want to do this way instead of using this directly like this, which is maybe not as descriptive as maybe tag 10 in this local program. However, if I don't want to do this logic here, we can do this same thing just by using the connections. And to do so, all I have to do is I can come here, and now instead of declaring this as a local tag, I will declare it as an input. So now an input, it's going to take, you know, some value is going to basically go to it. And what I have to do is to eliminate that logic, I'll have to go here to connection, and then here's connections, and I'm going to create a connection. So I'm going to go here, and we'll say, okay, here's program 1, here's that tag, it's available as an output, and then I can say apply. Now notice, as we said earlier, because this is an input, it does not allow me to have any other connections. It's only one connection. That's it. So now I can eliminate this rung here, don't need it. And the value of this tag that we have in program 1 will appear automatically in tag 10, and now I can use tag 10 in my program directly, and it will be a mirror of tag 1 in this program. Now let's download this and let's see how all that works. So I'm going to go ahead and download this program. So now, as we downloaded our program, we're online. Now if I go to this program 1, just going to put them both side by side so we can see what's going on at the same time. Okay, so here is our program 1 that's basically providing the data. Here's program 2 that is consuming the data. So if I put this to 1, you will see here's 1 automatically because we created that connection. If I put this to 0, it's going to be also 0. So it's just as simple as that. Now what about if, let's say, we want to provide this data not just to this program but to multiple programs? So how do we do that? Well, again, I can come here, create a new program, call it program 3, for example, and I'm gonna have another main routine. So again, if I want this tag to be available in here as well, I can come here and I can call this tag 10 as well if I want to, but I'm just going to call it tag 20, and I'm going to make it as an input and have it as a bool, and I'm going to go to connection and I'm going to link it to the tag right there. And notice I did all that live. And here's tag 20. Now if I go to monitor, you see this is 0. But if I go to program, so here's our program 1, which is the data provider. Here's program 2 and program 3. Now if I go here, put this to 1, boom, both of them have 1 now. So again, remember what we said earlier, which basically what we have here is that's a connection where we have an output. So it's one to many connections. You can have program 2, program 1, sorry, program 2, program 3, and so forth. So with output, you can do that. So now, let's say you want to do this, broadcast it, and broadcast to this input from multiple outputs. Remember what we said earlier is with the input you can only have one connection. But if you want to do that, let's say I want to broadcast to this from different outputs, let's say I have different outputs here, then you'll have to declare this as a public in the tag in there. So if I declare this as a public, then it will take multiple outputs. So let's see how all that works. So I'm just gonna save here, go offline. So let's say I have this program 1, this is an output, and then program 2, it's going to be another output also that I want to basically broadcast. So here it's obviously it's complaining because of the connection we have, so I'm just going to get rid of this connection for now. Okay, delete, apply. Okay, so now we have, what we have is this is an output, tag 10, and now, so essentially we have something like this. So we have tag 1, tag 10 as outputs, out, and then we have tag 20 as an in. So if you have, well, sorry, not as an in, but if this was an in, we won't be able to do this. So that's what we said. If we want to be able to do this, to have multiple outs to go to the same in, we have to declare this as a public. And that's what we're going to see here. So now we're going to go to program and declare this as public, and then go to connections right there. Now notice now we have another connection that we can do. If we have this as an input, you will see here that you only have one. See, it doesn't allow you to add more. So now we're gonna have this as public, and now we have this available. And not only we want this, but we also want from program 2 this one as well. Hit apply. So now see it took the second output to that same public tag. So now let's download and let's see how this is gonna work. And obviously, you know, this is just one scenario of lots of scenarios you can do, because with the public you can link pretty much anything to the public tag, whether it's an input, output, in and out. you cannot. The only thing you can do is you can't connect a public parameter to a public parameter. So okay, so now let's look at the programs again. So we have here. So this is an out, this is an out, this is a public. You see it's 1. But if I put this to 0, see this, it's become 0 and now it's 1. You see how it's basically going between 0 and 1, and it might, yeah, right there. So it's happening quite fast. Now if all of those are 0, obviously it's going to stay 0. Same thing here. If I put this to 1, now this is going to become 1 and it's going to turn to 0. It's going to flicker to 0 and come back to 1. Here we go. So that's another. That's not one of the scenarios. Another thing we can look at next is the in and outs. Now notice as soon as we declare this as an in and out, it's complaining. The reason for that is when you declare a tag and as an in and out, you must give it a connection. It must have a connection. You cannot leave it without connection. It's not like the inputs, outputs, or the public that can stay without a connection. You have to have a connection. And since this is an in and out, it will connect to either an input parameter or a public. You can't connect it to an output parameter. If I do like this, for example, just show you, and say I'm going to connect it to this tag here, and say OK. See, it's complaining. Well, if I go and say, oh, this is an input, so now it's happy because we have this as an input. Now in here we linked it to a tag that is in the same program, but we don't necessarily have to do that. We can link it to any other programs for that matter. As long as that parameter is an input or public, we will be able to link it to. So just to show you here, like here's in program 2, we have this as an input, and I can certainly do this. And now the value of this tag 10, that's now called tank 1. It's gonna appear in here. So if I go and download, so now that I am online, now you will notice the difference for the in and out connection versus like an input and an output. So in here, like here's my input. Typically this will get the data from the other parameter that will be declared as an output, and certainly that is valid in this scenario as well. So if I go from here, from this tag that we call it tank 1, and put this to 1, we'll see this become 1 as well. However, I can also do this, and if this goes 0, this will become 0. So it's like both ways, bidirectional. Unlike when you have this as an output and this is an input, you always have just one direction, so which is going from the out to the in, but not the other way around. If you try to write something to the input, it will get overwritten by what's in the output. But in here, you can write from here to here or from here to there it's both ways, which sometimes you might want that if you wanted this program to have a value and goes to the other program, or vice versa. Whoever is writing will will have the other one updated. So that's how the in and out works. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and this shed some lights on the parameters and connections, and I'm sure you're thinking of lots of scenarios and applications where you could take advantage of this feature, and I would appreciate if you guys hit the like, subscribe. It will be greatly appreciated. And again, thank you for watching this video.